Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video, everybody. And today I want to start off with a story about the Sultan of Brunei. He had 5 daughters and he was agonizing and frustrated because he wanted a son. And one day his wife shows up and says, "We're having a son." The son is born. It's a glorious day. On the son's 6th birthday, the Sultan goes to him and says, "Son, I waited so long for you. I'm so proud of you. You're turning into an amazing young gentleman. I would like to offer you anything that you want for your birthday. Just tell me what it is." And the son says, "Well, Daddy, I'd like an airplane." So the Sultan, who never does anything halfway, buys him American Airlines and the entire fleet of airplanes and jets. Then his 7th birthday comes along and the same thing. The Sultan goes, puts his arm around his son and says, "Son, you are the apple of my eye. You're everything I could have ever dreamt of. You're developing into this amazing young man. I want to offer you for your birthday anything you want, anything you want." The son says, "Well, Daddy, I'd like a boat." So he buys him Princess Cruise Lines, the entire fleet of ships. And then his 8th birthday comes around, and you know what happened. Same thing. Father, the Sultan, goes, puts his arm around his son and says, "Son, it's your 8th birthday. Again, couldn't be more proud of you. You're an inspiration to everyone around you. What would you like for your birthday this year?" And the son says, "Well, I'd like to watch cartoons." And the Sultan says, "Done." Buys him Disney Studios and all of the theaters. And then on his 9th birthday, after his son watching all these Disney cartoons, getting so into all this Disney stuff, his father goes to him and says, "Son, it's your 9th birthday. You're developing into a great young man. What would you like for your birthday this year?" And the son looks up and says, "Well, Daddy, I like a Mickey Mouse outfit." So he bought him Stellantis. I know, don't unsubscribe. Let's go ahead and get this video started. Alright, so let's talk about my first year with my 2023 Last Call Special Edition Swinger. And let's get outside of the car. Let me show you this beautiful machine. Yes, it's running, and yes, it's idling a little bit, and I know some of you hate it when I do this, but I am in the desert this week for work, and it's the end of the day, and it is literally 104 degrees. So I will take a chance with my engine and let this air conditioning keep blowing. But let me get out and show you the car, and then we'll talk about my first year's experience and what I think about the build quality, and if there are issues with the build quality of these cars, because as many of you know, so many posts out there across social media and in the forums and in the groups that people are saying that the 2023 Last Calls were not built in the same level of quality that the prior cars were built in. And some are saying it's because the union workers were disgruntled because they were losing their jobs, which who could blame them, and that Stellantis was cheaping out so much, cutting back so much, trying to save money, that they were delivering these cars not built at the same quality. We've heard rumors about, not just rumors, but I've had pictures sent to me of cracked windshields on these Challengers. I've heard of the interior issues, which I've experienced. I got a gentleman who sent me a message about his reverse camera stopped working and the dealership took forever trying to figure out how to fix it. We've heard about lots of issues. So there's no shortage of people out there saying, yes, the build quality was significantly less of quality than the prior years, and that there was some shortcuts that have been made. Paint issues, paints with, showing, dripping paint on them. I mean, you name it. I've gotten the pictures sent to me, and you've heard other people talk about it. TK's talked about it in his videos. So I would say there are definitely some truth around this, but I'm going to share with you just my experience. I'm sitting in my Scat Pack Swinger Special Edition. I've got 13,151 miles. This is generally my daily driver. It's been a year, so obviously I've driven probably another 5,000 miles on the Lamborghini and probably another 5,000 miles on the cop car. So, I spread the miles around a little bit, but this is the main car. And why do I drive such a ridiculous the fuel lack of efficiency car, a horrible gas mileage car for my daily? Because it's fun and because I can and I enjoy driving it. That's the whole point of having these cars. And if I'm not going to drive something a lot very often, I'm not going to keep it. So this is it. Let's go check it out. So my favorite part of this car, yes, I know, my favorite thing about this car is the paint. And that's what got me to buy it. This time last year, right after my birthday, I bought this car. And this was the color I wanted. I even said, if you go back to my SEMA trip, when I was showing this car on the showroom in the middle of SEMA, I said, if I could get one of these at or below MSRP and this color, this is the one I'd want, with a 6-speed manual transmission, and I did. I bought this sucker the second I could get it, and that whole video is online. You can go back and watch it down in my channel and see how beautiful this car is. Now, being a daily driver, I did hit a tire yesterday, which scuffed up my front splitter, which should buff out a little bit on that thing, but you probably can't tell on the camera, so I didn't even mention it. But overall, this car is still in perfect condition. Yes, the brakes cover. So if I'm telling you the truth about the car, y'all have experienced this. One thing about having these light rims is they rarely look like this. I washed this car today. Generally, they are covered in brake dust, absolutely covered in brake dust, and even the back just gets dirty. So rarely do these wheels look this clean unless you stay on top of this car. Yes, I do like this light color, this, what do they call it, the gold school color. I think it's awesome, and it goes with the shaker hood and the emblems on this thing, but they get dirty instantly. Like by tomorrow, these things will not look like that anymore. That's the only issue with those rims. Otherwise, I love how they look. Of course, I did add the hood pins to this thing. So the hood pins were an addition I had put on. It's about $1,000 at the dealership to have it done right. And Orange Coast Dodge did it for me and took good care of me on that. And overall, this is her. This is the car. Now, I've had no issues with the outside of the car at all. I'm still on my first set of tires, but these are, so if they got 13,000 miles, yeah, I'm really close. Like, I probably need tires in like a week, so that's gonna happen. So figure 13,000 miles, I got to the end with these tires. That's not bad, considering they are not the best traction in the world, so I do recommend, if you want to have traction, get something else other than those. It did come with the cool Reviver plate, so that was awesome. Paid my registration, I think, just yesterday, and it changed automatically, so that's great. I had to get my license plate, my stick shift license plate, and part of that is so when people are behind me and I forget to keep it in first, or I take it out of first and I look around and don't notice light change, it takes me an extra 1.1 seconds to shift this sucker in gear and go. So also, don't get behind me on a hill, because I may roll backwards a little bit, even though it does have the locking where, I don't know, it keeps it from rolling. It'll still happen. A couple little scuffs on here. Wow. Well, that'll come off just from the car wash. And overall, the thing's holding up great. One thing that I did notice early on with the car, and I have yet to have gotten fixed despite taking this to the shop, is if you can tell, that was not fixed properly, and there's no reason for it to be out. But I could probably jam it and pop it back in, but I want it to be done right, so I'll let the dealership do it. So other than that, on the outside, I've had really no issues with this car. No broken windshields, no nothing. This thing's been great. Now let's get on the inside and I'll show you what issues I did have. So I did have, with first time in 8 of these cars I've owned, the first time I've had this issue, which makes me suspect that since I'm not the only one that's had this issue, I've seen others with it, that this is a bit of a build quality issue. So if you can notice on this side, everything curves down. It's well attached. It's all perfect. But on this side, it's not. It came undone. So you can hear, not a big deal, but when I took it in for other work, they said, oh, we have to order a new door panel. I'm like, can't you just take it apart and re-glue it? No, we had to order it, and it's on back order. And I've never heard from them again, and I've never followed up with them again to find out about it. But it's definitely an issue, and every time I do take it in for anything, I'm like, can't you guys get me, or get this fixed? Now, I could probably take it to an interior shop and let them wrestle with it, save myself the headache and get this thing spray glued down. But that should not have happened on a brand new car that was almost $70,000 for these special editions. That should not happen. And then you all know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, I had a starter bolt that was loose. So shortly after I bought the car, it started to have the battery light come on the dash, and then it would go off, and it was fine. And then one day, I turned it off, and it would not go back on. And of course, that's generally when you have to get somewhere. So I waited a few seconds and tried to start it, wouldn't. So I did what we used to do back in the olden days, youngsters, which was push this sucker down the hill and pop the clutch. And I drove it to the Dodge dealership, and when I got to the Dodge dealership, turned it off, the problem was solved. So for 2 weeks, I drove around with that intermittently happening and having to maybe 2 or 3 times pop the clutch to start the car. And that was fine, because at least since it's not an automatic, I can do that. I've got my stick shift here, and whether it was just backing out of our slanted driveway at the time, throw it in reverse, push the clutch in, roll backwards, start the sucker up and keep going. Finally, it happened enough times to where when I got to the dealership, it was, at that point, it was just not starting, and they were able to take the car apart and find out that there was a starter bolt, they said, that was loose. That was the issue. And I guess they tightened it up, and after a week or so in the shop, it was fixed, and it's been perfect ever since. So no issues after that. Overall, I'll share with you my gas mileage. So I'm averaging 13.2 miles per gallon. See if you can see that. Based on the last 3,151 miles. So that's not bad. I mean, it's bad, I guess, if you know, drive a Prius. This is pretty horrible. But 13.2, and just so you know, I'm in it. My foot's always in it. I'm always like going. I'm always pushing the car. I mean, I love this thing so much. I love hearing the engine, and you know, I take every bit of power I have to get to the speed limit. Once in a while, maybe a little bit over, and this car does it, and this moves. And as I've shared in the past about all the cars I've owned multiple Hellcats and the Demon 170, and this is the car that I enjoy the most. I really, really love the 6-speed manual. I enjoy banging through these gears and being one with the car. I don't enjoy it when I have to sit in traffic, which I'll be doing when I leave the desert on Friday, and it does get exhausting. But my left leg is definitely going to be stronger than my right from pumping that clutch, even though it's a pretty light clutch, for 2.5 hours on the highway. But outside of that, I have no regrets from buying a manual, and it would be really hard for me to go back to an automatic. But Brad, the automatic's faster. Of course it is. I'm not drag racing. I'm driving and enjoying the car. It's me, one with the car, controlling the car, deciding when things happen with this car. It creates a much more, how do I put this, intimate relationship between man and machine to have a manual transmission. And maybe it just takes me back to when I was a teenager and all my cars were manuals. So that was just something that was nostalgic to me, and to have it, it brings a lot of joy and happiness to my life. So I enjoy the hell out of this car. So other than that, other than what I've heard online about the cars that people, let me put you guys up here, what I've heard about what other people are dealing with their cars, overall, this has been a great car. So those of you like to comment all over the comment section, well, it's a piece of crap, the door's peeling off because it's a Dodge. Listen, I'm 13,000 miles in. The car's been good. Oh, I did have one issue. Okay, the drive shaft. There was something scraping there, and it sounded like the loudest, scary sound you'd ever heard. When I took it in, they found nothing. They told me it was a can or something flew up in there. Didn't make sense, but okay. It came back a month later, and I took it back in. They found nothing. One of my daughter's friends drove it to Cars and Coffee for me, and it happened to him, and it scared the hell out of him. Of course, it went away again, and it's gone. It was definitely tied to the drive shaft because it sounded like something scraping when it was spinning, but it went away. So I don't know if that's something that's going to jump out and get me. The good news is I've taken to the shop now, I think 2 times for that issue, and both times they said there was no issue. Meaning, if I exhaust the warranty and that issue comes back up, I will have recourse to say, I brought it to you, it was that issue, and they would have to cover it. And they would have to, when I say they would have to cover it, I would make sure they covered it.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights?
So I'm not too worried about that, and if it comes back, so be it. Outside of that, I've had no other issues. This interior's been perfect, the stitching's been perfect, everything. I have no complaints other than what has taken place with this car. But that's my take on the last call. It's my story on my Swinger Special Edition first year. It's been a good car, and out of the 8 cars I've had minimal to no issues. This is the first one I've had any issues like this stuff with, so I think there was some rushing that took place on these, and I know that some people have had much, and I know that some people have had much cut.
Do it!
And I know some people have had much worse issues with their last call cars, but this is all I've had. So overall, I still love the Dodge, and if they were keeping these cars around, I'd still keep buying them. And I am extremely concerned about the build quality on the new EV thing. Good luck to anybody who wants to take a chance with that and be the first guinea pig. I look forward to hearing your story. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment, share this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.